Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to Podcast 35 of 2026. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neil. You can find me on X at OBKiev. Follow us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sports, proud partner with the NFL. If you'd like to support the Odds Breakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member, pick any. For winning cappers, get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com. If nothing else, please visit the Odds Breakers, become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. The NFL draft is among us, and that's all this show's about. I did a mock draft like I do every single year. I absolutely freaking hate it. I think it's going to be completely destroyed like many other mock drafts have in the past. But one thing I at least can say is as bad as it's been destroyed, it's still more accurate than 90% of the stuff out there, according to my past history. So I've been happy with that. And, part of that reason is because I try to do a mix of what I think they're going to do and what I think they need. Because if you really don't know what they're going to do, you really have to focus on needs. And you're going to be a little bit more chance of being right there. But the problem is this year is that this draft is all over the freaking place. When I had Ron on last week, I kind of said that there's still value in this draft. I think there is from an offensive line and safety perspective. I think there's going to be some cornerbacks that are drafted in the second and third round that we're not even talking about that could be good. But, as far as cornerbacks in general, there's nobody stands up on top for a great first-round pick, and wide receivers are even worse. You see how there's all these draft guys out there, Daniel Jeremiah, Schrager, all these guys talking about how great this draft is, how deep it is. It's not. This is a terrible draft when it comes to buzz because there's only one quarterback even worth talking about, and we know that as Mendoza, and I don't even have a third or fourth round grade in my mind on any of these other quarterbacks. I think they're all bad. And to be honest with you, it wouldn't shock me if none of them ended up even being a second string type of guy. And I've been pretty accurate before. I remember having Malik Willis ahead of Kenny Pickett. I had Malik Willis second, believe it or not. I can't remember who I had at the top of that draft. But he certainly is now looking to be the starter at the Miami Dolphins while Kenny Pickett just looking for a job, right? So, I'm happy about that. I had Shedeur Sanders as my best pick last year, which was a horrible quarterback class as well. And Shedeur Sanders is a starter just like our guy over in Tennessee. So, believe it or not, the jury's still out on Cam Ward. And, there's a chance that I could be right about Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, I had Joe Burrow up top back in the 2020 draft. And a couple drafts ago, I had C.J. Stroud above Bryce Young, which now it's still, not looking great for either of those quarterbacks. But I think that Bryce Young still hasn't done nearly as much as C.J. Stroud has done with no offensive line over in Houston. So I might do a top 10 quarterbacks, top 15. I just haven't gotten around to it, and I just haven't really seen the value in it this year. But I probably will try to do something tomorrow before our next show where we hope to find another guest for the draft. Now, the problem with that, too, there's not a lot of people betting this draft. There's not a lot of buzz, and a lot of people are just focused on their sports that they can kind of put in their sites every single day. The NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, golf every weekend, UFC, and obviously Major League Baseball. But, I still love the draft because I love football, and I find it just kind of intriguing how you can just try to get ahead of some news. As you know, we gave out Jeremiah Love, number 3, and now it tanked all the way down from 1,200 to plus 200. And the truth is that, like I said, the Cardinals are looking at him. Still will trade down, though. So it's actually kind of looking a little bit more like David Bailey could be the third pick because his odds are only at plus 125. I think the Cardinals would probably grab David Bailey over Jeremiah Love, but I'm not completely sure of that if nobody trades with them. What I think will probably happen is they bait the Titans into it, okay? And then the Titans move up a spot, and the Cardinals just grab Jeremiah Love, David Bailey at number 4, which very much can happen. But this whole Arvell Reese thing, it looks like more and more speculation that he's going to the Jets. I still don't 100% believe that. I think it'd be a big risk. I think I don't like these edge rushers nearly as much as I have the other years. And, I mean, it's just a draft that is nothing sticking out. If it wasn't for Micah Parsons, Arvell Reese would not even be discussed, in my opinion. Now, is he a beast from Ohio State? Yeah, but he's not a top 2 pick beast. You know, it's a bad draft class even for the edge rushers. But I think the Jets would just be doing a Jets thing if they picked Arvell Reese and nothing else will have changed. You know, I think that that's a speculation we got from draft pundits that are supposed to be put in the know on this stuff. Daniel Jeremiah, Peter Schrager, David Bailey going second to the Jets. You know, they're going to look kind of bad if that doesn't happen, because that's how the odds moved, is them mentioning it. And here we are, back to Arvell Reese. Now, the problem with the Jets is that they know that they can go in a lot of directions, and they have time to develop an Arvell Reese. And a lot of people say, oh, he's got more upside. Oh, what do you know about upside? How do you know David Bailey doesn't have more upside? I think that's just a stupid excuse. You know? I mean, if you look at David Bailey's measurables, he is 10 pounds more than Arvell Reese, 251 pounds to 241. His 40 time was only 4/10 of a second, 4/100ths of a second less than Arvell Reese. His bench press is over 400 pounds. You know, I mean, we see a lot of tape on Arvell Reese by a bunch of playing against a bunch of Big Ten cupcakes. I'm not that impressed by it. You know, we did see him face better competition like Indiana. What happened against Indiana? He got like a half a tackle, you know, when Indiana beat him. You know, I mean, he's a project. And that doesn't mean you're going to pan out. David Bailey has a higher floor than Arvell Reese, and he could even have a higher ceiling. So it still throws me to think that he's going to actually go second. But it would be a perfect Jets thing to do, to take a whiff on a guy like this because of a bunch of draft hype. Like I said, the top of this draft sucks compared to other years. And they're kind of looking at this guy like he could be a Myles Garrett or something like that, you know? I mean, this is ridiculous. This is a terrible draft at top. I mean, the Jets should try to trade down, and maybe that's what they're doing. But right now, I think if they had to draft at number 2 in my mock draft, I do have David Bailey. And might as well start right there, because you know that the Raiders are already drafting Fernando Mendoza, getting that new quarterback in there. The Jets were dead last in pressure rate last year, 15.1%. Will McDonald was not good. You know, he was a high draft pick a few years ago. Now people say, okay, the Jets need everything, and I agree. I think trading down in this draft is the best thing you can do if you're in the top 10, especially if you're going to get some good value back for it, right? But, you know, right now I have to go with David Bailey at number 2, because that's what I heard from, you know, some very big names that cover the Jets, like Daniel Jeremiah and a few others. So right now I'm sticking with David Bailey for now, even though the odds are saying Arvell Reese. Now, the Cardinals, you know, I think they should pick Reuben Bain. And, you know, this is kind of how I do it in the draft. I always like to say, who should they pick first? And that's how I'll put this article out. I like Reuben Bain a lot, and I think he's a game wrecker. And sometimes measurables don't mean anything. You know, I remember what I saw when he played for Miami. And the Cardinals were 29th in pressure rate last year. But, you know, the problem is that they need to trade down, but instead they might just pick Jeremiah Love if they don't get what they want. But here's the other thing. Like I was mentioning before, I think Jeremiah Love can definitely go 3, because I think the Titans could actually trade up for him. Now, what would suck for me, and a couple of my bets that I made earlier, is if Arvell Reese goes 2, maybe they do pick Bailey at 3, and that would set me back a little bit. I I still have some other good bets, though. Quarterbacks under 1.5. Sadiq under 15.5. I still think is a good bet. And I have a couple, at least one more to give you during this episode. But right now, I'm just going to mock Jeremiah Love to 3 because I really think the Cardinals are falling in love with this dude. And even if it is Arvell Reese at number 2, there is a chance that they select Jeremiah Love at 3 or they trade down to the Titans. The Titans give up a second-round pick or something to just move up one spot, and they'll get their guy. Okay, so that could definitely happen as well. So the Tennessee Titans, I think what they should do is go offensive line. You know, why not go offensive line and help Cam Ward out a little bit? You know, you got Wan'Dale Robinson there. You got Calvin Ridley still there. You got to help out your quarterback. And so I'm not a big, and you know, I am not a big running back first round guy. I'm not. You know, they say can't miss guys like Bijan Robinson. Yeah, I mean, what has he done? He hasn't done enough to get to the playoffs yet. You know, there's a lot of reasons to not take a running back until later. And I'm always against running backs in the first round unless they're very special, and it's usually late in the first round, but certainly not at number 4. And, you know, I think that they should go with a left tackle, Dan Moore, over there. 61.9 overall PFF grade for the 2025 season, which ranks 62nd among 89 qualified offensive tackles. That's a pretty poor grade that he had. 948 offensive snaps on the season that Francis played for Miami. So I like his prospect, and I think he'd be a fine pick here at the 4th pick of the draft. And that way you can get rid of Dan Moore. And, you know, you don't have to pay him anymore. So I think that, you know, Arvell Reese still there. They're going to go with him, but I don't think he's going to be on the edge. I think he's going to be a blitzing linebacker, a blitzing outside linebacker. He can't go on a 4-3 base anyway because he's too small for right or left defensive end. So he'd be like a weak side linebacker. He's got good coverage skills. Why not have him play something he's used to right now, you know, and see how that develops? But, you know, I think that's what the Titans could certainly do, or definitely they could trade down if Jeremiah Love gets drafted as well. Number 5, the New York Giants, who they should pick. So this is interesting. I think they should pick an offensive tackle or a safety. I'm just going to write Caleb Downs as who they should pick, although I think they get him later. I normally don't like picking a safety this early in draft, but Downs is special, and this draft is weak. And Downs can definitely help this defense significantly, both against the pass and the run. And I think this Giants team ranked 31st in opponent rushing yards per game. Now the mock pick's going to be the Miami guy, Francis Mauigoa, like I said, who should be picked by the Titans. And I think this is a perfect spot for the Giants because the Giants are also back in the top 10 after trading Dexter Lawrence, right? So I think Mauigoa goes, and they need a meaningful right tackle on the New York Giants, and this is a perfect spot for him. Number 6, the Dallas Cowboys, I predict, will trade with the Browns. They need a linebacker like blood. I say get Sonny Styles, who's, I mean, minus like what he's done on the edge compared to Arvell Reese. This guy is an absolute beast. He also had a 4.46 40, 6'5", 244 pounds. The best pure middle linebacker in the draft by far. I think Jerry Jones needs to get this guy, and that's who I think that I'm going to mock to the pick for the Dallas Cowboys. And other options they could go is like cornerback or obviously edge. Number 7, the Washington Commanders, who they should pick, Reuben Bain Jr., obviously back. I think he should be picked by a top 10 team. They need a lot of defense, and this team lost Bobby Wagner and replaced him with Leo Chanel. So losing old man Von Miller and Jacob Martin creates the need for edge, but I mock pick that they're going to screw up and go wide receiver and Carnell Tate from Ohio State. They did also pick up Odafe Owe from the Chargers at edge, so they'll probably panic and go wide receiver now that Styles is off the board. Number 8, the New Orleans Saints. You know, Mansour Delane is probably the best pick for them right now. He ran a 4.38 40. Good instincts during the regular season for LSU. And now that the Saints missed out on some stud linebackers, it's probably just better to go corner here. But a lot of people say they're going to go wide receiver as well. So I got back-to-back wide receivers and Jordan Tyson coming from Arizona State. And, Kellen Moore is an offensive guy, their coach, and they can't trust Olave to always be healthy. He's been injured too much over the past year or the past couple years. They bite the bullet and go wide receiver. And Tyson's a beast. I've seen him play in person. Him and Scattaboo were definitely the best players on the field when I saw most of their games. Number 9, the Kansas City Chiefs, who they should pick, Reuben Bain Jr., and I think they finally pick Reuben Bain Jr. George Karlaftis can't hold the fort down by himself. The Chiefs need to get to the quarterbacks. Obviously, if you're getting a new quarterback for the Raiders, you got Herbert still with Jim Harbaugh over there in L.A., and then clearly, Denver Broncos, you got to be able to stop them as well. So I like the Reuben Bain pick, and I mock him to the Chiefs. You know, a lot of people just think that Chiefs is all offense all the time. Now they really love their defense over there, and I think they continue to build the defense. And I just kind of think they get a mulligan in their own minds that Patrick Mahomes was so hurt last year, and Travis Kelce's coming back. They still have some wide receivers there. Worthy was a high pick. They kind of fixed a little bit of their offensive line. I think they go back to the defense here, and Spags can get his guy. Number 10, the New York Giants, and this would be via that Bengals trade that just happened. So we'll go to what I was saying, Caleb Downs. We'll go back to him, and I think they do pick Caleb Downs here. John Harbaugh loves his defense, and they already acquired Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker and Greg Newsome to fill some of those gaps. But I think that they get the safety now and fill that gap on defense here now that they got 2 wonderful top 10 picks. So there you go. Now I could have went nose tackle, but why bother when the position isn't quite as built up as others? You can probably get a pretty good tackle later in this draft in the second round. So that's why I think they get the best safety in the draft. Number 11, the Miami Dolphins, who they should pick. Caden Proctor, off again for all the reasons that I said. I mean, super rebuild here. You go to the trenches. Tua, you paid him $54 million to leave this year to be the backup in the Falcons. And I just don't see, after losing Cole Strange and Larry Borum, to not pick an offensive lineman. And that's what I think the Dolphins do. I think they pick Caden Proctor from Alabama. And he's, like I said, a great player. And I think looking at what Jeff Hafley wants to do in Miami, start with the trenches, I think this is a perfect pick in Caden Proctor on the offensive line. Number 12, the Cleveland Browns from the trade with the Cowboys. And I'm going offensive line. Why not? They seem to like Shedeur Sanders some. They're going to give him a year, see what he's got. I think Monroe Freeling from Georgia is the next best offensive lineman on the board. And, Deion's going to have some excuses. You got to cover for that. So definitely, I definitely like the pick. 6'7", 315 pounds, 34 3/4 inch arms. He can stop the pass and gouge the run. I think this would be a good play for the Browns. And the Browns were pretty active in free agency, so why not fill a void at the offensive line? Number 13, the LA Rams. Now, I like Chris Brazil And I think he's the next best receiver in this draft. He's 6'4", ran a 4.37 40. He's the only one that's tall and fast. Maybe he's a little bit weak. Maybe he doesn't run the greatest routes. Maybe his mind isn't as competitive as some other guys. But Puka can't do it by himself, and Devontae Adams is getting old. They have nobody behind them after Tutu Atwell left. I like Chris Brazil here, but I actually think they go instead with the local kid, Mackay Lemon, wide receiver from USC. Now, he's not the biggest dude. He's not small, but he should be a great slot receiver, so some decent speed, great running, route running ability, great hands. I think he thought he was kind of like the best player on USC. Him and his partner there were pretty good in lane. And no, man, I like this kid. And I just think Brazil has the higher ceiling, but this would fill a void for the Rams. Number 14, the Baltimore Ravens, who they should pick. Kenyon Sadiq, tight end from Oregon. The Ravens were pretty busy in free agency, getting Trey Hendrickson at edge, Josh Simpson at guard. They also shored up some secondary. The team, however, did lose Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar at tight ends, which opens up a huge hole to fill. Some people think they're going to go offensive line like a guard, but I think Sadiq makes the top 15 in this draft. And his measurables are pretty awesome at 6'3", 241 pounds, running a 4.39 40, which is faster than almost every receiver out there. I think he's a sure pick for the Ravens in the two tight end sets. And, Mark Andrews getting old, so this is going to be my mock pick as well. So I think they get Kenyon Sadiq and fill that gap over in Baltimore. Number 15. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who they should pick. I'm going to go with Mansour Delane from LSU. He's a cornerback. The biggest weakness for Tampa Bay was against the pass, and they lost cornerback Jamal Dean to Pittsburgh. It just kind of makes sense that a cornerback is the pick for Tampa Bay Bucks. You got a defensive-minded coach in Todd Bowles, so my mock pick is Mansour Delane. With Cam Taylor-Britt also signing in Indianapolis, there's just a significant hole at cornerback. Number 16, the New York Jets get to pick again. And who I think they should pick is cornerback after they lost Sauce Gardner in the trade last year. Avion Terrell's going to be there from Clemson. He's the next best corner, solid speed and ball skills, good tackling and blitzing. 3 sacks last season, but the Jets can go in multiple directions. I actually think the Jets do something stupid and pick Chris Brazil. I like Chris Brazil as a receiver, but the Jets need other positions, and this is kind of like my long shot. I think Chris Brazil sneaks into the first round, and they're going to appease Glenn a little bit after first going defense in this draft. So this team really does have nobody behind Adonai Mitchell. So Brazil has a very high ceiling, as I mentioned before, 6'4", 4.3, 740. Next, we have the Detroit Lions. And this one just screams super obvious to me that they're going to go offensive line. If you remember, this Lions team was decimated on the offensive line. Terrible injury luck. They need to get younger. Taylor Decker is gone, the left tackle. So this is just a no-brainer here. And Blake Miller from Clemson makes a ton of sense. And I think they go Blake Miller from Clemson. 6'7", 315 pounds. He can move with a 5.04 40. Over 31 reps at bench press with the combine. Massive dude. Great broad and vertical jump at the combine. Some of the best in the class. So you got to get Blake Miller from Clemson, and that will be my mock pick as well. By the way, the Lions are minus 380 to go offensive lineman for the first pick. The Minnesota Vikings are next at 18, who they should pick. I'm going to put Dylan Thieneman, safety from Oregon, and that's what everybody seems to think because that's the lowest odds at plus 130 that they're going safety. He's the next best safety out there. 4.3540. Great tackling technique. He shows up at the team's facility at 5:30 a.m. Over 300 tackles and 8 interceptions over his college career. He actually started at Fresno State before he went to Oregon, but this kid made a name for himself. He is a great safety and should be good in the NFL. Number 19, Carolina Panthers, who they should pick, Spencer Fano, offensive line from Utah. Carolina does not have a good line, and their 2 pickups in free agency and left tackle Rasheed Walker and center Luke Fortner may not be enough. Fano, short arms, but he can play guard or tackle. Big size, 6'6", 311 pounds, versatile, and that's the safety of picking him. He can play either position, but I think the mock pick actually is Avian Terrell, cornerback, Clemson. So I actually think that, the Jets should have picked him, but he will go to the Carolina Panthers. It's another kind of hot take. A lot of people think Carolina is going to go with tight ends, but I think the tight end's going to be gone. So Carolina did draft a lot of wide receivers in the past. I think they finally go defense and try to fill that gap, as Devin Lloyd was already signed to fill the linebacker position. So they needed to fill that hole as well. Number 20, the Cleveland Browns. So I think that trade's going to involve the Browns going to 20 and Dallas going down to 24. But if it doesn't, these 2 picks are so close to each other anyway. So I'm just going to roll with it. Anthony Hill, linebacker from Texas, is who Cleveland should get. They have a big hole at linebacker. And as you know, at pick 12, I mocked the offensive lineman to be picked to the Browns. So we're going to go the next best linebacker, Anthony Hill from Texas. Great tackling, quick to the gaps, long arms, make up for his height at 6'2", and he can jump through the ceiling. But I think the Browns might go Denzel Boston instead. They might go wide receiver, And I don't like the pick, but this is the Browns here, and they have a new coach named Todd Monken who likes the offense. And they're going to think more of Shedeur Sanders again. Boston, big dude at 6'4", but his speed is definitely in question without him running the 40-yard dash on his pro day. Pittsburgh Steelers are 21, who they should pick, Spencer Fano from Utah, offensive line. I thought this team lived with a poor decision last year with DK Metcalf at wide receiver, but they're not going to get another wide receiver. I think they have to shore up the offensive line for whoever is quarterback there. It's probably going to be Aaron Rodgers, but you don't know if it's going to be Howard or somebody else. Sick of the question about Aaron Rodgers. He just kind of turned into what Brett Favre was when he left the Packers. Will I retire? Will I not? It's getting so annoying. And I'm going to mock pick Spencer Fano to Pittsburgh Steelers either way. So they also lost guard Isaac Suimalo to free agency. So this just makes a ton of sense to get Fano. Shorter arms. He's more of a guard and a pile driver for this offensive line. Number 22, the LA Chargers, who they should pick. Caden McDonald, defensive tackle from Ohio State. This guy is massive size to bat down the balls, clog up the middle on run plays. Perfect pick for the Chargers that they lost Deshaun Hand and Ogbonnia to free agency. So they need to get defensive tackles, and I think they go defensive tackle, but I don't think it's going to be McDonald. I actually think they go Peter Woods from Clemson, who is the faster one. They did sign Delvin Tomlinson, but he's 32 years old, so they're going to want to get younger at the defensive tackle position. That's how Harbaugh thinks. He thinks trenches first. Speedier Woods from Clemson, number 23, the Philadelphia Eagles, who they should pick. I'm going to go Max Ianacker, and I don't know if I destroyed his name, from Arizona State, the offensive tackle. He's an absolute beast. Next best offensive lineman, in my opinion, maybe could be the best coming out of this draft after it's all said and done. 6'6", 321 pounds, ran a 4.9140. 4.91 for a big dude like that. He's part of Cam Scadaboo's success and Jordan Tyson's success. So I think that this guy's a great pick, and that's going to be my mock pick. I think the Eagles get it right. Max Ian Ecker, offensive tackle from Arizona State. So A.J. Brown, going to be gone soon, but it sounds like it could be June 1st. Howie Roseman is too good to make a mistake to pick a receiver here. Lane Johnson getting old. Eagles have won in the past based on their trenches. Number 24 from the Cowboys. I think they should pick Jermod McCoy, cornerback from Tennessee. And the Cowboys defense was just horrible last season. Just horrible. And McCoy would come in and make a big difference. LSU not too far from Dallas. The only issue is that he missed last season due to an injury. And he's fine now. And I'm going to mock pick Jermod McCoy to the Cowboys as well. You know, they could go edge, but I mean, the grades are relatively the same on edge after Bain. I think Jermod's just been great in 2024, and his pro day showed that he was fine. So Jerry Jones is known to take high risk, high reward type guys like McCoy. Number 25, the Chicago Bears, who they should pick. This is tough. They could fill in a few holes there after free agency decimated them, but they've been mostly decimated in the secondary. And, you know, they're kind of looking for edge too, but I'm going to go with Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, safety from Toledo, and it's just because of this dude's size. There's just not the edge rushers I like in the draft left on the board here. And picking 25 is just really hard to get it a sure thing. And McNeil-Warren's the third best safety in this draft, and he's got the size and speed to keep up with the guys. Now, did he go to a big college? No, he went to Toledo, but that doesn't mean he's not going to turn out. But my mock pick's going to be different. I'm going to go with Kendrick Falk. I think the Bears do go edge, and Ryan Poles tends to overthink things and outsmart himself, and he's going to feel the pressure to shore up the pass rush. And Kendrick Falk's the next guy on the board, and he's just a little weak for the position. Poor bench press at 17. Reps, subpar vertical jump. I don't like the pick. Number 26, the Buffalo Bills, who they should pick, Hayden McDonald, defensive tackle, Ohio State. The Bills were terrible at stopping the run last season, making 28th in opponent rushing yards per game and 31st in opponent rush EPA. Caden is the best pick and a tremendous value, but I don't think they go there. I think they actually go linebacker here and grab Anthony Hill from Texas. So, you know, my thoughts on Anthony Hill, like I said, the next best linebacker on the board. And since the Denzel Boston was picked instead of Anthony Hill at pick 20 for the Browns, I'm going to say that the Bills decide to go linebacker here. Pretty good at 7-1 value here, and I put a little bet at 7-1 that the Bills go linebacker first. Okay, so Matt Milano, he's a free agent. I don't think Buffalo's going to re-sign him. He's been injured too much during his career. Bernard's there, but he's been injured in the past. Hill, probably the best guy available at linebacker. Number 27, the San Francisco 49ers, who they should pick. I put Caleb Lomu, offensive tackle from Utah last year. Utah was really loaded at the tackle position, and he was part of their success. 6'6", 313 pounds. Lomu ran a sub-5 second 40. Amazing broad jump and vertical jump. He's just a great athlete, and my mock pick is going to be Caleb Lomu, offensive tackle from Utah. Trent Williams aging. He did figure out a deal with the 49ers, but they need to get younger there and more healthy and protect Brock Purdy. And I think that John Lynch makes the right choice here and goes offensive line with Lomu. 28, the Houston Texans, who they should pick. Caden McDonald, defensive tackle from Ohio State. We heard this from me before. Texans addressed their terrible offensive line issues by signing guards Wyatt Teller and center Evan Brown to the roster. But did they do enough? I'm going to say no. They probably still need to get more line. But they have a gaping hole now at nose tackle after Tim Settle signed with Washington. So Caden McDonald is my mock pick as well. And I think they get it right here. Just too much value with McDonald over the 8th or 9th best offensive lineman on the board. Number 29, the Kansas City Chiefs. Who they should pick, I'm going to go with Colton Hood, cornerback from Tennessee. The Chiefs lost corners Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams to free agency. Team's also short on safety, but I think they go cornerback first. Colton Hood fits the bill, 6'0", 4.4 40 time. But I think my pick is actually going to be who the Bears passed on, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety from Toledo. The Chiefs will stick to defense, and they'll fill the Deion Bush and Brian Cook gap that left them short at safety in the offseason. So that's I think they go safety. And I think I'd rather go corner, but safety it is. Number 30, the Miami Dolphins, who they should draft, Caleb Banks, defensive tackle from Florida. Miami is starting from scratch with a new coach in Jeff Hafley. I think he goes defense first, but this team needs everything, and they do not have nearly enough picks to cover. So Caleb Banks, defensive tackle from Florida, it is. My mock pick's going to be KC Concepcion, wide receiver, Texas A&M. I just think that they go receiver, and I'd rather go defensive tackle, but it is what it is. Concepcion's solid, nothing special. Dolphins are going to want to give Malik Willis a new target. They lost both Jalen Waddle to a trade, and Tyreek Hill had that gruesome injury, and he's on the board for free agents. So I think that this just makes sense that they also get wide receiver, and that's what it is. Next, the New England Patriots sitting at 31. Now, this is weird because I kind of thought that, the draft is so poor this year that it would warrant a trade for an A.J. Brown at this position, but maybe not. That's why a lot of people think they might go receiver, but I don't think so. I think they are going to get A.J. Brown after June 1st, but this could also blow up if this trade happens earlier. I think who they should pick is Akeem Mesidor, defensive end from Miami. They can go a couple different ways, but pass rusher makes sense. 12.5 sacks, 58 pressures, 11 run stops in 2025. He's also 25 years old, and he's been injured over the past few years. But if this gets traded to the Eagles, it is what it is. The Eagles lost Jalen Phillips and Brandon Graham to retirement. So they could go, would want a defensive end and definitely pick Mesidor as well. But New England lost Kalavion Chasen, and they also lost Chris Tonga, a defensive lineman, to free agency. So this pick kind of makes some sense. And Akeem Mesidor, if he goes to the Patriots, or even if the Eagles get a chance to pick somebody here at this spot. Number 32, the Seattle Seahawks, who they should pick, Mason Thomas, edge from Oklahoma. Seattle won a Super Bowl based mainly on their defense, so I would at least try to keep that whole after losing Boye Mafe to the Bengals. But my mock pick, they can't resist. And this is a very possibility that you get screwed on your running back bet. I've seen it happen before when I think it was Kansas City that picked Edwards-Helaire at this spot after winning the Super Bowl. Jadarian Price, running back from Notre Dame. I don't like the pick, but the Seahawks lost Kenneth Walker to free agency, and Zach Charbonnet cannot fit the bill himself. So I think there's a very good chance that it's Jadarian Price or a running back in general here in this position. But Jadarian Price is next on everybody's draft boards after Caleb Love. Imagine two Notre Dame running backs going back-to-back running back in this draft. So there you have it. I'm taking a long shot with the Bills to pick a linebacker at 7-1, and I'm also picking Caleb Downs to go over 9.5. That's now plus 110. I got a better number on this, but I think there's a chance that the Giants don't pick him 5th and go offensive line and then get him 10th. But it is what it is. There's also mocks that show the Giants getting like a linebacker instead, right? Like a Sonny Styles or something like that. So those are my two plays. Giants probably get Downs at 10. So Caleb Downs over 9.5 in his draft pick position, and the long shot with Buffalo goes linebacker first at plus 700. My friends, thank you so much for listening to this episode of my mock draft that's going to be destroyed come Thursday. But hey, we're going to talk some more draft a little bit later this week. By Thursday morning, you'll get another show of some more bets that we like for this wonderful draft. Have a wonderful week. and go get some winners.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.